champions, I welcome you all to score 360 out of 360 in NEET Bio within 250-day series. And today we are going to talk about pleiotropy, polygyny and sex determination, and we are almost about to end the chapter. Can you imagine that? We are doing a really good job. And what did we cover in the previous session, children? We spoke about linkage, we spoke about recombination and also chromosomal theory. I hope you remember the name of all the people who were behind the findings of these things. Yeah. Now going ahead, number of questions which were asked the previous year was 6. Okay, 6 into 4, 24 marks, which is why it is one of the top 15 chapters. Actually, it is coming in the first category. Okay, top 1 chapter which gives you most amount of question. One is this, the other one is molecular basis of inheritance, which would be probably the next chapter. Yeah. Now going ahead, children, I gave you this homework. Were you able to do it? And if you were able to do it, let's check the answer for the same. Yeah. Now there are 3 genes A, B and C. A, B and C are the genes. Percentage of crossing over between A and B is 20%. Okay, that means the distance between A and B is 20 centimeter. You can think like that. Okay, the percentage of crossing over between A and B is 20. B and C, okay, A and B is 20, B and C is 28, and A and C, okay, A and C, it is 8%. So basically you just have to arrange in order and you have to find the sequence of the genes. So if they are, look for the highest value over here. We have 28 and this is the distance between what, children? This is distance between B and C. So let's make B and C with 28%. Okay, it is the most distant one. Now going ahead, they are saying A and B is 20. So if I put A somewhere here, so I can say A and B is 20, okay, and it is said that A and C is 8. So 20 plus 8, 28, you got the answer. So what will be the sequence, children? It can be BAC, or if you read it out the opposite way, it can be CAB as well. But over here you have an option like BAC, so why to worry? So this is the answer. Let's see who all got it correct, even though I didn't practice this question earlier, but I wanted to give in homework thinking that okay, let's see what my children would do out of it. So do let me know if you got your answers correctly before me explaining it. I'll be really genuinely happy. Now over here, today's topic, we'll start with polygyny. What do you understand by polygyny, children? Polygyny basically means I have so many different genes that will be controlling one character of me. So as of now we studied that okay, if there is a chromosome, this chromosome has a gene that is tall, it will be controlling the height. Okay, and this will be having an allele as well, probably the short T or whatever is there. Both of them will be controlling the height. Now I am telling you that there can be multiple genes as well. For example, one gene is over here, the second gene can be over here, the third gene can be over here, each of which are different, and all these genes are basically, okay, all these genes are basically going to decide the height in total. I am saying there will be, children, multiple genes for a single character. For a single character, that is height, you are getting multiple genes. All these genes are responsible for production of height, which is why, and this came to knowledge when people were finding that okay, it's not just tall and dwarf, but there are people with medium heights. All of our heights are different. Why? Probably because there are so many genes involved and it's not just about 1 or 2 genes. Okay, so there are multiple genes for a single character, and it is proven that height follows this pattern. Your skin color, okay, so I'll write it in a better way. So your height follows this. The second thing is your skin color, children. Skin color also follows this pattern. Now before going ahead, I want you to read the NCERT and then we'll go ahead. So Mendel's studies mainly describe those traits that have distinct alternative forms, such as a flower color, which are either purple or white. But if you look around, you will find that there are many traits which are not so distinct, right? It's not just tall and dwarf. Okay, which are not so distinct in their occurrence and are spread across a gradient. For example, in humans, we just don't have tall tall or short people as two distinct alternatives, but a whole range of possible heights. Such traits are generally controlled by 3 or it can be more genes, and these are known as polygenic traits. So these type of traits which are controlled by multiple genes, children, are known as, you call them as polygenic traits. Now, going ahead, besides the involvement of multiple genes, polygenic inheritance also takes place in account for the influence of environment. Chalo. Next example, human skin color is another classic example for this. In a polygenic trait, the phenotype reflects the contribution of each allele. That is, they are saying that, for example, again I am making 3 chromosomes, okay? 1, 2 and 3. Each having one gene over here. I'm not talking about alleles, children, I'm talking about different genes, okay, that is present. And I am saying that basically all of them which are going to be responsible for the skin color, okay, they will be giving a response which is additive, as in, for example, this is A, this is B and this is C. So, A, if it is contributing like 1 mg of thing, B is contributing 1 mg of something, and C is contributing 1 mg of something else. So, basically the thing that will be shown up will be an addition, okay, will be an addition. So, it will be 3 mg in total. So, each of them will be having their own contribution, and this own contribution will decide our character, that is the skin color. So, over here they have given the example that to understand things better, okay, to understand things better, A, B and C is responsible for dark skin color, and the recessive forms small a, small b, small c are responsible for light skin color. The genotype with all the dominant alleles like this will have the darkest skin color, and that will all the recessive alleles will have the lightest skin color. As suspected, the genotype with 3 dominant alleles and 3 recessive alleles will have an intermediate skin color. In this manner, okay, so they are saying something like this. So, do not see the question as of now. They are saying that there is A, there is B and there is C. So, the dominant forms basically are responsible for darker skin color, okay. All of its addition is giving the dark skin color. This will give little dark skin, and if it adds up with the product of this, then it will be more darker, and if it adds up with the product of this, it will be more darker, okay. Now, if we talk about A, B and C, they are the ones that contribute to light skin color. Now, you think of a scenario where from both the parents you are getting capital A, capital B, you are getting capital B and capital C, capital C. Obviously, this will be the darkest, because over here, this is contributing, this is contributing, this is contributing, this is not. All of the alleles that you see, all of the alleles of all these 3 genes, this is a gene, this is a gene, this is a gene, all the alleles of these genes are basically contributing for the skin color, so it will be dark. On the other hand, if it's AA, BB and CC, over here this is one gene, this is another gene, this is the third gene, but all of them, all the alleles which are participating over here, they are going to give rise to the character which is what? The light skin color. So, this will be lightest skin color. This will be, children, the lightest skin color that you will be getting if a person has this thing. Now, what about that situation where it is AA, BB and CC? What happens over here? There is a capital 1, there is a capital 1, there is a capital 1, there are small ones, small ones, small ones. So, capital 1s are responsible for darker shade. The smaller ones are responsible for lighter shade. So, now what? Now what, children? They will show incomplete dominance. So, here is an example. Skin is an example of incomplete dominance. So, this will be incompletely dominant over this. This will be incomplete dominant over this. This will be incompletely dominant over this. So, the color shade will be what, children? Intermediate. If it was all of them, all the alleles were capitals, it were dominant, then probably it would have been the darkest one. But over here only one each is dominant, which is why this will give an intermediate shade. Okay, agree? Do you agree? So, here also, as I said, these are sets of genes which are responsible for the skin color. So there are multiple sets of genes which are responsible for the skin color, which is why I call it a polygenic trait. Okay, decided by different genes. Please remember the example, it is very much important. Okay, so skin color, height and everything comes in this particular category. Now going ahead, there is a question that I have given you over here. Please try to solve this question. Over here, which of the following characteristics represent inheritance of blood groups in humans? So if you talk about blood groups in human beings, you know there are 3 blood groups, A, B, O, not 3, there are 4, and AB, right? And you know that A and B are basically codominant. They are codominant. If you talk about O, if A is there, if O is there, basically A is dominant. So I see dominance over here. And you see there are multiple alleles. There is A is an allele, O is an allele and B is an allele. Basically IA, IB and I, all these alleles are there which are responsible, okay, which are responsible for this particular trait, that is blood group. So I say that they are showing the blood group thing, it shows what? Multiple allelism, or basically they have multiple alleles for a gene or for a trait. Okay. So in any ways, do you think that this is an example of polygenic trait? Do you think this is an example of polygenic trait because multiple genes are there which will be controlling the blood group? No, children. Here there is no multiple gene. Okay, there is a gene which has different categories. There is one allele, this second allele, there is third allele. You have 3 alleles over here. Whereas when you talk about polygenic traits, you have 3 different genes over there. They can have the sub-varieties, but you have 3 different genes over there which would be contributing to a character. So this is not the example of polygenic inheritance. Now, with that explanation, can you tell me the answer for the same? What is the following characteristic? Which of the following characteristics represent inheritance of blood group in human beings? Basically, dominance is there, codominance is there. They have multiple alleles also. They do not show incomplete dominance. They do not show polygenic inheritance. So 1, 2 and 3, what do we have over here? This is the correct answer. This came in NEET 2018. Okay, going ahead. Now, inheritance of skin color in human beings is an example of, you tell me the answer for the same. We just studied it now. Okay, inheritance of skin color, it is an example of what? Point mutation, polygenic inheritance, codominance, chromosomal aberration. What is the correct answer? It will be polygenic inheritance, right? This came in 2007. Now, going ahead with pleiotropy. Pleiotropy is something that we have already studied when we were talking about pea plants. But let's try to remind. Let's try to remind ourselves that. So we have pea plant, children, and in this pea plant there was capital B which was responsible for round seeds, I think. Yeah, okay, and it was also responsible for starch synthesis. There is small b. This was, again, I forgot, it is round or yellow. Okay, assuming it's wrinkled seeds, and it is also responsible for starch synthesis. Okay, so over here, please try to understand that this is one type of character, that is about, you're talking about the shape, and this is another character where you're talking about starch synthesis, right? Over here, when capital B is there, there is too much amount of starch synthesis. When small b is there, there is less amount of starch synthesis. Now, if someone has capital B, then obviously this will be round, and also it will be large, which has so many starch globules, granules right over here. Okay, so over here it is round, and what, children? It has too much amount of starch as well. Now, on the other hand, if it's capital B, small b, what will happen? Again, the same thing will happen. It will be round. Okay, it will be round. But if you talk about starch synthesis, if you talk about starch synthesis, what is the starch synthesis? Capital B, small b. Round is a dominant character, it will show. But since starch synthesis is also handled by this thing only, and there is only one, so here starch synthesis is intermediate, in an intermediate level. Okay, it's not completely dominant. As you can see here, when you talk about round and wrinkled, okay, B is there, B is responsible for round, so that's why it becomes round. But when you talk about starch, okay, it's not completely dominant, it shows incomplete dominance. It shows incomplete dominance in the case of starch synthesis. Okay, which is why it is intermediate. The amount of starch will be intermediate. On the other hand, if small b, then it will be wrinkled and the amount of starch will be also less. So, I am writing wrinkled and the starch amount is also very less. So, with this information, can you explain what do you mean by pleiotropy? Pleiotropy basically means that one particular gene, that is this one, this particular gene is responsible for maintenance of two characters. For maintenance of two or more characters. So, this is one character, this is the second character. Usually, it's not like that. Capital T always means for height, small t is for just dwarfness, right? But over here, capital B is for round seeds, as well as this gene is also taking care of the starch synthesis. Now, small b is for wrinkled seeds for sure, but it has somehow affects the starch synthesis, it makes it less. Do you get it? So, one gene is maintaining two things. So, over here in polygenic, what was it? There are multiple genes, okay, there are multiple genes for one trait. So, polygeny means, I write over here, polygeny, when you spoke about that, it was, okay, one character, multiple genes. One character, multiple genes. But over here, there is one gene, and this one gene is responsible for multiple character. That is the case of what thing? This thing, that is pleiotropy. This is pleiotropy. I hope you understood that. Now, this was given initially, okay, this was given initially to you, and this is also the example of incomplete dominance. Please remember that. Now, going ahead, the one that is given in over here. So, there is a disease which is known as phenylketonuria. What do you call it? Phenylketonuria. Now, what happens in this disease, or what is the causative agent of this disease, is that in our body we have the amino acid which is phenylalanine. Okay, and this phenylalanine is usually converted to tyrosine. Usually it is converted to another amino acid which is known as tyrosine, and this happens because of a enzyme which is known as phenylalanine hydroxylase. Its name is phenylalanine hydroxylase. And now what do you have, children? You have tyrosine. Okay, but twist happened. The twist is, the gene which was responsible for the production of phenylalanine hydroxylase has now been damaged, or it is not producing that particular enzyme, which is why what will happen, which is why all the phenylalanine which is there, it gets converted into phenyl pyruvic acid. And this thing, when it accumulates in our body, basically in our brain and our blood, this causes mental retardation, children. This causes mental retardation. Ma'am, how it is linked to pleiotropy? Children, I said there is a gene which is responsible for phenylalanine hydroxylase that helps in the conversion. Now, if this gene, when it is mutated, when something happens, it won't be able to convert this. Hence, the phenylalanine which is there, it just gets converted to phenyl pyruvic acid, stays in our body, stays in our brain and our blood, and causes mental retardation. But along with that, two more things happens in our body. That is, we will be having less pigmented hair and less pigmented skin. Okay, we will be having less pigmented hair and we will be having less pigmented skin because of the damage of the same gene. So over here, probably this gene, this single gene would be responsible for multiple characters, which is why when this gene is damaged, okay, this is not happening. Because of that, you got the disease, that is phenylketonuria, but also there will be less pigmented hair and less pigmented skin. Because actually speaking, this tyrosine which is being formed, it is responsible, it later transforms into melanin, and melanin is responsible for our hair color as well as what? The skin color. Okay, and that is also not produced, which is why two other traits are also getting hampered because of this. So in total, we have three different things that are getting hampered because of one single gene. So this is an example of pleiotropy, where one single gene is responsible for multiple character. So if it has some mutation, obviously all these things could happen in three different places. Okay, so that is exactly opposite to polygyny, and that is what exactly is written over here. We will have a quick read of it as well. So we have seen so far that the effect of a gene on a single phenotype or trait, that's how it works. There are, however, instances where a single gene can exhibit multiple phenotypic expression. Such a gene is known as pleiotropic gene, which has multiple phenotypic. Please take care of the small details. So there is a single gene which is responsible multiple phenotypic, as in something that you can see, phenotypic expressions. Okay, an example of this is the disease phenylketonuria, which occurs in humans. This disease is caused by mutation in a gene that codes for the enzyme phenylalanine hydroxylase, a single gene mutation. This manifests itself through phenotypic expression characterized by mental retardation and a reduction in hair and skin pigmentation. Hyperpigmentation, you can remember like that, hypo, not hyper, okay, hypo, it's less. Fine. Did you understand what I tried to teach you? This is pleiotropy, children. Fine. Going ahead. Now, there's a question that we have over here. Let's see. A pleiotropic gene is the one that controls a trait only in combination with another gene. Okay, controls multiple traits in an individual. Okay, is expressed only in primitive plants. Is a gene evolved during Pliocene? No, children, it is just the one that controls multiple traits of an individual. This came in 2015. Okay, now you see, that's recent, not too big, long back, right? Okay, fine. Now I hope pleiotropy is done and polygyny is also done. Let's talk about sex determination. Now, sex determination is something that you might be already knowing, but still, over here, there is two types of sex determination. One where male will be heterogamous. Heterogamous, what do you mean by heterogamous? Basically, they can produce two types of gametes. Okay, so for example, example, where shall I make? Okay, example I shall make here. In the case of human beings, so we have, this is a female. Okay, female has one X, the other one is also, what am I doing? Just a second, yeah. This is an X chromosome, this is also an X chromosome, okay. When you talk about males, they have an X chromosome and one small Y chromosome also. So X is there and Y is there, okay. Now the gametes that will be produced over here, it can be either X or again it can be either X. So it's homozygous condition, the gametes are always same. But over here, if you see, it can produce either X or it can produce either Y. So this is heterogamous condition, where the gametes that will be produced will be different, children. It won't be the same, it will be different. So in humans, we are an example of male heterogamity. The males are heterogamous, females are not. So let's see who are the other things. So one example, male heterogamous, is XY, which is there in humans and it's there in Drosophila. Remember Drosophila melanogaster, we studied about it, the fruit fly. So humans and Drosophila, both of them, in the females they have XX and in male they have XY. So they have two gametes being produced with the help of males, which is why that is an example. Now if we talk about the next thing is XO. What do you mean by XO? Basically this is shown by most insects, so I am writing most insects. most insects. In your NCERT, the example is given of grasshopper. Okay. Now what happens over here? Let's see that. XO, what do you mean by that? So basically again, if you talk about the female, it will be having XX. Okay, this is insect, for example, grasshopper. So this is female grasshopper. And there will be male also, where it is X, and the other one is what, children? Y. So sorry, it's not Y. There is no other one. There is no other chromosome. So they just have one single sex chromosome in the case of males. In the case of males, they just have one single sex chromosome, which is why we say XO, as in nothing is there. So there is only an option to give X, and here it's just X, or it can be another sperm that does not have anything. So there can be a sperm which has the X, or other sperm which does not have anything over there. Now, if this sperm and this sperm fuses, you get XX, that is a female. If you get this and this fuse, then it is X, and the other sperm is having nothing, so I am writing O. So there is no chromosome being passed there, so it is O. So gamete can either have X or it can have nothing. So gametes that are produced, children, it can have either X chromosome or it can have nothing. So if it's nothing, then it again becomes a male, and the same thing goes on. Here also, it can be XS, that is a female, or it can be this, again a male. Okay, so 50% chances of females and 50% chances of males. But always remember, in the case of insects, most insects, example grasshopper, they do not have the other sex chromosome in the case of males. So which is why we call it heterogamous. You might be thinking there is no other sex chromosome, so there is only one gamete that could be formed. No, children. One gamete can have this, the other gamete will not have anything. That is a problem, which is why we are putting it under heterogamicity. Okay, fine. Now, female heterogamous. This is seen in cock, hen and things like that, where they have something like this, ZW, okay, ZW, and this is seen in chickens. I'll explain that. Now, over here the female is heterozygous, so you only think, so now I am making female. Female is either Z or either W, but on the other hand, the males will be Z. So this are homozygous. Now this can have either this gamete or this gamete. Either way, it's the same thing. Similarly, over here also, either it can be this or it can be this, children. Okay. Now this and this fuses, you get ZZ. Again, this is a male. Okay. This and this fuses, again it's ZZ. Again, it's a male. This and this fuses, you get ZW. It's a female. Similarly, this and this fuses, you get ZW. It's also a female. Okay, done. So two male, two female over here, but here the heterogametes, so different type of gametes are being produced with the help of female. Fine, got it? So that is the example over there. So that is given in your NCERT textbook as well. In the case of human beings, I hope you know that, but for your clarity, I'll just write for everything. It's XX and XY. XY is the male and XX is the female. Similarly, here also, XX is the female and XO is the male. Over here, ZW is the female and ZZ is the male. Done. So please think Drosophila as an exception to this thing. It's also an insect, but it is having XY. Cool. And there is one more insect, honeybee, about which we will be studying, but before that we have to look for this. Chalo, let's start. The mechanism of sex determination has always been a puzzle before the genetists, and the initial clue about the genetic chromosomal mechanism of sex determination can be tracked back to some of the experiments carried out in insects. In fact, the cytological as observation as in cell, when you observe the cell, okay, made in a number of insects led to the development of the concept of genetic chromosomal basis of sex determination. Hen King, here comes our hero. Hen King, in what year, children? 1891. 1891 could trace a specific nuclear structure all through spermatogenesis in a few insects, and it was also observed by him that 50% of the sperm received the structure after spermatogenesis. So, you know, in the case of insects, there is only one sex chromosome, that is X. Other sex chromosome is not there, and he was able to find that the cell where this one sex chromosome was going down, it was a male, okay. Where the sex chromosomes were not going down, it was what, children? Ayyo. Yeah. Wait. Okay. He observed that one sex chromosome is going in one, and another the sex chromosome is not going. Okay. So, according to his observation, 50% of the sperms, which is this, were receiving this particular chromosome, whereas 50% of the sperm were not receiving this particular thing over here after spermatogenesis. So, he came to a conclusion, probably it's because of this particular thing which is passing down, that is why there are 50% of chances for fertilization to happen and in to become a male, whereas this particular thing would obviously, sorry, why am I messing this up? Okay, let's start afresh. Over here, hen king, okay, over here hen king in the year 1891 was working on insects. Okay, was working on insects, and he was finding spermatogenesis and anything happening there. So, he saw that in the case of sperms, during spermatogenesis, almost 50% of the sperms had the chromosome and 50% of the sperm didn't have it. Okay, the ones that had it, and when they fused with females, this particular thing became a female insect, because X you will receive from female and X comes together, and then you will have female child. On the other hand, when this fuses with the female, okay, with the female X, what will happen? This is X and there is nothing else, so it becomes what, children? Male, that is XO. This was his observation. So, probably it's because of this particular chromosome that sex determination was possible, that this particular organism is becoming something, it is having some sex, which is why it was known as sex chromosome or X chromosome later on. Okay, just read it once more. So, hen king could trace a specific nuclear structure all through spermatogenesis in a few insects, and it was also observed by him that 50% of the sperm received this structure after spermatogenesis, whereas the other 50% did not receive it. Hen king gave a name to this structure as X body. He didn't know what to say. Okay, it was unknown, which is why it was said X. Okay, now further investigations by other scientists led to the conclusion that the X body of hen king was in fact a chromosome. So, this X body which he was not able to understand, which was just getting passed down, okay, and which was literally the cause of the sex, okay, of that particular organism, it was later termed to be a chromosome, and later on it was given the name of sex chromosome as well. But hen king was the person who found it out that this is a reason behind the sex of an organism, and it was done on insects. Okay, that study, it was done on insect children, and this is everything that I already taught you. So, in the case of males, in the case of human beings, you have male heterogamety. Similarly, in the case of Drosophila also you have male heterogamety, whereas in the case of hen and all you have female heterogamety possible over there. Okay, in the case of grasshopper, it is what? Again, male heterogamety, and that is possible over there. Okay, but it is XO type, not the other type. Now, sex determination in honeybees. Now, that is something different. In honeybees, the story is actually very different. So, let me try to explain the story. So, over here, just imagine that there is a honeybee. Okay, there is a honeybee, and this honeybee has 36 number of chromosome. Over here, there's another honeybee, and this honeybee has 16 number of chromosome. Okay, this is the female one, and this is the male one. And one thing if you have observed, it's not 36, sorry, just a second, it's 32. Yeah. 16 is just the half of 32. So basically the number of chromosomes which were over here, it's just n. That is haploid, half the number of chromosomes that is present over here, which is 2n. So this is diploid and that is haploid. Okay. Now when this honeybee, female one, undergoes meiosis, because meiosis is the process, reductional cell division, where you get half, right? And it will produce gametes. Okay. All the gametes, basically children, everyone will be having 16 number of chromosomes. Okay, it will be just having 16 number of chromosomes because half will be happening. It's a reductional division that is happening. So obviously that is taking place. On the other hand, you need gametes from them also. They also produce gametes, but they do not do meiosis. If you do meiosis again, that will be half the number of chromosomes again. So you do not want that. So they will also undergo meiosis. Sorry, they would not undergo meiosis. Instead, they undergo something that is known as mitosis, where whatever number of chromosomes is there, just exactly the same number of chromosomes will be formed in the gametes as well. Okay. Now children, listen to me very carefully. Now, when the female egg fuses with the male sperm, okay, it's again 32, and 32, if 32 is there, probably it's a female. If 32 is there, then it has to be a female. On the other hand, if you talk about this gamete which is being produced, this gamete basically will not fuse with the male. Instead, this will become a progeny itself. This will undergo division and become a progeny itself, and this will be a male since it just has 16 chromosomes. It just have 16 chromosomes, and this process of formation of an organism or an embryo or an organism without fertilization is known as parthenogenesis. We studied sexual reproduction in flowering plants. There's something, parthenocarpy was there, where fruit was being formed without fertilization. Apocarpy is there, where basically seed was formed without fertilization. Over here, you just have to talk about animals, organisms. Okay, it's not about plants. It's about other organisms which forms the embryo without fertilization. Okay, I'll repeat things again. 32 number of chromosomes are there in the female. In male, it's half the number of chromosomes, that is 16. So it's haploid. Over here, it's diploid. The diploid one undergoes meiosis to form gametes because you just need half the number of chromosomes there. So it undergoes meiosis and you have gametes with 16 number of chromosomes. Over here, the male one, it also divides itself and you have a cell that is having 16 number of chromosomes here as well, but this did not undergo meiosis. Instead, it underwent mitosis because you don't want to reduce it. Now, this gamete egg and the sperm fuses to form 32 number of chromosomes again. If it's 32, what is it children? It has to be a female. On the other hand, the one that had 16 number of chromosome, that will undergo something that is known as parthenogenesis, which means it is going to form the embryo without the fertilization. So without the fertilization, it will now form the embryo, which will turn out to be a male because only males will be having 16 number of chromosome. So does this thing have a father? Does this particular thing that is being formed over here, does it have a father? No. It just has a mother because everything is being passed down. But does it have a grandfather? Yes, it will be having a grandfather because just how this 16 and 16 came together. Similarly, some 16 and 16 might have come together to form the female 32, which later formed the progeny which is male. So in your NCERT it is written it does not have the father but it has the grandfather. This is the reason why it says that it has the grandfather. I hope that is clear. Okay, this is known as parthenogenesis that has happened over here, and this type of sex determination where one is haploid, the haploid one always turns out to be male and the other one diploid becomes female, you call it haplodiploid sex determination, haplodiploid sex determination. So the sex determination in honeybee is based on the number of sets of chromosomes an individual receives. An offspring formed from the union of a sperm and an egg develops as a female. Oh, I didn't say one more thing. Okay. Over here, this female that is being produced, it can be either a worker bee, or it can be children, or it can be a queen bee. Okay, the worker bee are basically sterile. Okay, worker bee are not the ones that will be producing more progenies. No, they are the ones who take care of the whole comb and everything. Whereas the queen bee, as you know, is a queen. It is the one that undergoes sexual reproduction in the next cycle. Okay, it will undergo fertilization, undergo sexual intercourse in the next cycle and produce more bees. But when there is one queen bee already there, you do not need it there. Okay, so all the females can either be workers or it can be one queen bee if the other queen bee is not there. Talking about males, all the males all together, you call them drones. Okay, what do you call them? Drones. Drones do any work apart from undergoing sexual reproduction. Okay, so when there is a thing that is known as nuptial flight. Okay, nuptial flight is when the queen and the drones would be flying and would be trying to mate. This is the only thing that the drones are made for. Okay, so drones are made for sexual reproduction to happen so that their legacy can continue. That's the only thing. So all the males that will be produced here, children, all of them will be drones. So this is how sexual determination happens in the case of bees. Now over here, just let's read. This means that the males have half the number of chromosomes than that of a female. The females are diploid having 32 chromosomes and the males are haploid having 16 chromosomes. This is called haplodiploid sex determination system. What do you call it? Haplodiploid sex determination system. Okay. Now, and has special characteristic features such as males produce sperms by mitosis, they do not have father and thus cannot have sons, but have a grandfather and can have grandsons as well. Okay, so that is the thing that is quite different. So as I said, in the case of males, they do not undergo meiosis, they undergo mitosis, and they do not have father, but they definitely have grandfather, and the grandfather have grandsons, which is them only. Okay, so the grandfather have grandsons, which is them only. I hope this is clear to you. And can they have sons, children? Can they have sons? 16 and 16, if it comes together, it becomes a female. So they cannot have sons. That is also a thing. Okay. I hope that is something that is feeded in your head. Now, select the incorrect statement. Human males have one of their sex chromosome much shorter than the other. Yes, it's true. The Y chromosome, which is there in the case of males, this thing, okay, this is short. Okay, now that is true. Next, male fruit fly is heterogametic. What do you mean by heterogametic? As in, it will produce two gametes, two different type of gametes. It's also true, you know, XY. Fruit fly, as in you're talking about Drosophila, so it also has XY, same limb. Now, in male grasshoppers, 50% of sperms have no sex chromosome. That is also true. XO, it shows XO, where 50% of sperm has the sex chromosome, 50% does not have. In domesticated fowls, that is birds, sex of progeny depends on the type of the sperm rather than the egg. It's not like that. The sex of the progeny will be depending on what, children? The sex of the progeny will be depending on whether the female is giving Z chromosome or W chromosome. So it is what? Female dependent. Over here, I will write one more thing. When this is the case, sex of the progeny is dependent upon males. Over here, this is dependent upon females. Okay. Now, in Drosophila, next question. In Drosophila, the sex is determined by what? The ratio of number of X chromosome to the sets of autosomes. What do you mean by autosomes? All the chromosomes apart from the sex chromosomes are known as autosomes, children. Okay, please let me tell you, all the normal chromosomes, no, you call it autosomes, and the sex chromosomes, you call them allosomes. So it is saying in Drosophila, sex is determined by the ratio of number of X chromosome to the set of autosomes, no children. The X and the Y chromosome, that is correct, but let's see the next thing. The ratio of pair of X chromosome to the pair of autosomes, whether the egg is fertilized or develops parthenogenetically, no children. We're talking about Drosophila. Drosophila have X and Y mechanism, so this is the correct answer. This came in the year 2003. Easy? Now, these were the questions that we did. Let's try to revise. So, which of the following characteristics represent inheritance of blood groups? They show dominance, they show codominance, they show multiple allelic, nothing else. So, it will be this. Inheritance of skin color is an example. Skin, your hair color, everything is an example of what, children? Polygenic inheritance, where multiple genes are controlling a single trait. Where multiple genes control a single trait, you call them polygenic inheritance. Now, pleiotropic gene, what does it control? It controls multiple traits in an individual. There will be one gene that will be controlling multiple traits. Example, phenylketonuria is caused by this particular gene, which is not producing what? Phenylalanine hydroxylase. And also it is responsible for less pigmentation of skin and hair. But please don't get confused with this and this. The skin color is majorly set by the polygenic multiple genes. Okay. Now, select the incorrect statement. You saw that in domesticated fowls, it is not the sperm but the egg which is the thing that is responsible for sex determination. In Drosophila, the sex is determined by both X and Y chromosome. Okay. Now, one question for my Chutku people. One little homework. Can you try to do this? It's a very simple question, and if you're done with this, do let me know in the comment section. Homework, this is the answer. Okay, which of the following pairs is wrongly matched? So if you have a basic idea of this chapter, then definitely you will be able to answer this question. Okay, now I hope that this particular thing, whatever I try to explain, you understood it really well. If you understood it, do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Okay, so that's all, children. Have a really good day. Bye bye. Take care.